Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin, and today we have another special guest, Gabby from Podcast in the Woods. Gabby, how you doing?
I'm good, friend. How are you?
I'm great, and it's good to have you back on the show. I think the last time I had you on was with Horror Gamer. I'm pretty sure that was a
Yes.
long time ago.
So that was like 2 years ago. We talked about The Exorcist.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah,
Time has been absolutely flying by, and now that you're with
absolutely.
Podcast in the Woods with Boomer over there, you guys have been rocking it as well.
Hi,
So
Booms. Yeah.
and today we're doing something a little different. You're coming on solo. Usually you'd have someone else with you, but Boomer has to be stupid and work and be busy and whatnot.
Oh,
But
Booms. Love you.
it's
Yes.
all good. But
Yeah.
I gave you a pretty cool opportunity to come over here and do what Dean and I have been doing for since Dean I think has became the new co-host. About 6 7 months doing a bunch of ScreamBox coverage and whatnot because the people over there have been amazing with giving us some screeners and helping us do some coverage for them. We're not sponsored. I want to let that know everybody know that we're not sponsored, but maybe one day we're just kind of doing some work freelance over here. Um,
ScreamBox has the best selection, too. I love Shutter, obviously, OG,
yeah.
but I have ScreamBox now and they're killing it.
Yeah, they really, really are. And
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who's over at Screenbox, they love Shutter as well, and we do like we love Shutter.
Yeah.
But they're kind of an underdog right now. Screenbox, they had been around for a while, but
Oh,
they
they
kind of
have?
went through like yeah, like they went through like a whole rebrand last year, and what really started setting them off is when they did Freddy's Nightmares, like the TV show of Nightmare on Elm Street. They put all the
Mm,
Freddy's Nightmares on there for a good like 5 or 6 months, and then I think they just took it off. I think by the end of last year, which really
okay.
wasn't that long ago. I think it was like in October or
Okay.
September, one of those months. I think when they took it off, and now they're kind of rebranding and getting a lot of these really awesome films in with Cinedigm. And the movie that we're going to be talking about today is called Dawning. Um,
Yeah.
comes out January 31st. So we're not going to jump into any kind of spoilers or anything like that right off the bat. I do all overall feelings and whatnot. But before we do any of that, Gabby, I want you to go ahead and let our listeners and watchers know what you and Boomer are doing.
So Booms and I just started season 2. I joined a little bit into his season 1. He started on his own. I was looking for a new show. He was looking for a co-host, and I guested on his show. Everything just kind of clicked into place, and I kind of found my home. I think that he would agree. We found each other by destiny. I mean, like
Yeah.
just we are each other's yin and yang. I mean, we have so much fun. Um, he always says I bring the intelligence and he brings the bullshit, but I really think that's not, I'm not that smart. He just likes really stupid movies.
I mean, I do have to agree on that. Sometimes when he picks some of these outrageous, weird movies,
He does. And
um,
it's so funny. When I started on the show, I was like, I don't like a slasher. I don't like a B movie. I don't like stupid for the sake of being stupid. I don't like any of that stuff. And oh God, he's going to hear this and it's going to like encourage him. um, I'm coming around so hard on slashers and B movies and things. This week we actually just recorded with our friend. I think you know Dice Roland. Do you know her?
um,
Oh,
possibly.
she's so fantastic. But we know she's just great. We talked about Demon Wind
Oh, such a great
from
film. Such a
1990.
great film.
I will disagree with you respectfully.
I enjoy it. I think I'm like one of those. If you would get a room of like 10, 15 people, there'll be maybe like 3 or 4 that say they love Demon Wind, and the rest of them will be like, no. I'm one of those
No,
guys that's like, I love Demon Wind.
I'm the other 11. I hated that movie. But it's just one of those things that this is one of his very rare misses though that I hate the word pretentious. I'm starting to think that maybe I am a little bit. It's not that. It's just I like horror to be scared, and
Yeah.
he likes horror for fun. And so we kind of balance each other out a little bit with that. That I don't think I picked the smart choices. I think I just picked the more universally scary.
Yeah, you like that guttural reaction. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Like I have to sleep with the lights on kind of movies.
yeah, and this has been kind of my journey ever since, kind of becoming okay with horror. As everybody knows who's been on the podcast or not, but I always say it. It took me a long time to really start watching scary movies and like enjoying them. First movie that really got me out of that was Halloween 1978 when I was about 10 or 11.
Yes,
So
yes,
that one, it scared the hell out of me, but it made me very intrigued, want to watch more. So over the years, I've watched a lot of stuff, and I think I just got to a point, maybe when I was like 16 or 17. Maybe it was because I was more mature, or if it's
yeah,
just because I've seen so many other films, I kind of got a little desensitized, and I was like, I'm not really scared of anything anymore. Even
yeah,
going to like some haunted houses and whatnot, I'm not scared. I just go there to look at the whole view and the set
yeah,
designs and stuff.
yeah,
Um, so one thing that I really wanted to do on this show was to obviously showcase all the films that I loved watching growing up and even still until this day, but also to find those movies that give me some sort of feeling of fear or even like any kind of emotion other than like just watching the film and shutting off my brain. I like to think
yeah,
and I like to feel something. And the movie that we
yeah.
are covering today, Dawning, definitely made me feel some stuff. um,
Yeah, this was a tough watch for me.
yeah.
Yeah. I had not the greatest childhood growing up. And I had a little sister. And 7.5 years ago, I lost her. And this was, I had no idea. I didn't even check to see if there was, is there a trailer for this? I didn't even check.
Uh, there is, but it's really weird because Dean and I were doing trailer reactions, right?
Yeah.
This one is, I believe, on Bloody Disgusting's YouTube channel, but it's unlisted. So you have to go to
Oh.
Bloody Disgusting's actual site to get the link.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even look. I wanted to come into it blind. All you said was Japanese psychological, and I was like, yes, I want that one.
Yeah,
And so I was super excited, and not to say that I'm not now. It was a really good movie, and it
yeah.
freaked me out. But I can tell you the only other horror movie that ever made me cry the way that this one did was Train to Busan.
Oh, yeah, no, that made me
Yeah.
weep. Oh,
Yeah.
yep,
Like
definitely did.
openly sob, the snot, the hiccups, the like, yeah, like the first time I watched ET level,
Oh,
like
yeah.
just devastation. And this one really did that for me. And it was also a little cathartic for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just it's such a personal experience. And I think that one thing about horror is everybody has that one horror movie that like it's not their favorite, it's never going to be their favorite, but it was the one that made them feel the most.
Yeah.
And a horror movie that taps into your greatest fears, and everybody has something different. um this one really hit me with um the relationship
Okay, yeah.
and the regret, and all of that. No spoiler yet, but this really got me. This was excellent.
Yeah, and I think the movie also kind of warned you in the beginning. This isn't really a spoiler because it's like the first thing it says. I think it said it dedicated to the hurting, which, like the feeling of you being hurt or
Yeah,
losing something or just having like like a pit in your stomach and not knowing what to do.
yeah,
And I thought that was beautiful because it
yeah,
really, from watching the trailer, this movie was not what I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be more like really crazy imagery, which there is crazy imagery that's going on in here. But I thought it was going to be a lot deeper. It is a deep
Yeah.
movie, but I thought it was going to be deeper in a whole different way, like a weird like spiritual realm or whatever it was that was going to
Right?
take
Yeah.
over this person. I
Yeah.
really thought. But it really flips it all on its head, and it's a great film. It's less than like an hour and 20, and it
Yeah.
flies by. The storytelling is great. They speak Japanese and English in here, which I kind of like that kind of back and forth with it.
Yeah.
Um, there's not too many like areas in the film they go to. It's mainly set in like this one home slash some sort of farm. What were they growing there?
Almost like a dirt farm. Did it not remind you of the Depression? A little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 I was trying to figure out what they were growing there. I wasn't sure if it was like tomatoes or grapes. He didn't really focus too much on that.
No.
Maybe there were some apples there. Now
It
that
was
I'm thinking
apples
about
or
it.
pears that were on the tree. I noticed that.
Yeah.
But whatever was growing in, like growing out of the ground, not off of the tree, I have no idea.
Yeah, me either. It was beautiful though. It was
It was
really, really
gorgeous. It was
beautiful.
gorgeous setting. Yeah.
Um and I really do have to thank, Screenbox again for letting us watch this, and also Cinedime for picking these awesome movies. Every movie that has been coming out that is an exclusive or something that's not on like another streaming service, Cinedime has really been handpicking. So Brandon Hill, who helps with the acquisitions for Screenbox and Cinedime, has been nailing it. And
Hi, Brandon. I'm Gabby. Want to talk?
hey, I'll get you. I will get you into contact with Brandon and Alex. Don't worry. I'll
Do
make that
you
happen.
not though? Maybe you have a little bit more like contact and you talk about them a little bit more. But every time you say Cinedigm, I am hearing the voice when the movie starts, that deep voice, Cinedigm. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about? Like I
Yeah.
hear it every time you say it. It's cracking me up in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've been killing it. And another thing that I like about Screenbox, and this is so probably really stupid to a lot of people, but like their actual logo and their music, you know how Shudder has a dun dun like that John
Yeah.
Carpenter made?
Yeah.
I think Screenbox has a better one. And I love John
I
Carpenter, but
agree.
like their knife and like super like 80s slasher sounds, like I
Yeah.
think it's so cool. And I love watching
It's
Screenbox
just
movies
it's
just for
so
that.
beautifully horror.
Yeah.
It's so yeah. I mean Screenbox is or yeah, Shutter is very hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Screenbox
Screenbox is very
is
like, yes.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
yeah,
more like on the edge of everything. They want to throw everything out, and they've been doing a lot of
yeah.
Korean and Japanese horror, which I know Boomer loves that shit. So,
I know. It's so funny that I'm the one here talking
yeah,
about the Asian horror when this is boomers. I mean, booms, again, love you, not talking shit, just saying you love that stupid shit. But when it comes to Asian horror, you can't find a higher authority. He knows everything.
true. It's true.
He's seen all of them. And yeah, when it was like, oh yeah, it's Asian, it's like, okay. I mean, I love, and he's introduced me to so many great ones that I hadn't seen before. I think I saw the more like I don't want to say mainstream because Asian horror for some reason still is not that mainstream. I don't get
No,
it.
it's sort of getting there.
It's
Sort of.
getting there, but he I knew the ones that were at my Blockbuster,
Yeah, yeah.
like on my Netflix before Shutter was a thing. And so I knew all of those, but he can tell you titles that like he'll have me watch movies that are on YouTube. I never in my life thought to watch an entire movie on YouTube, but
Yeah.
he knows where to find them and he has the DVDs if you can't find them, and he is the authority. And it's so funny that I'm the one that's like, that was scary. And
Yeah.
I'm the one that gets to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our opportunities, and we're all growing and learning so many awesome things. And
Yeah.
don't worry, we'll have him on again with or without you. Who knows?
Booms. Hey friend.
But yeah, seriously, Gabby, thank you for wanting to come on and do
Thank you for
this.
having me. I'm so excited.
I know I've been doing this a lot lately. I've been like going like a day or two before, like I'm like, crap, I'm supposed to record this. Does anybody want to come on? I've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah.
Because Dean, he's trying to do his conventions over in the UK, so he's trying to gear up for all that. January was a very lax month for him, and it's always like that. Like he doesn't get a lot of work in for his actual
Mm.
job, and also the conventions aren't really happening that much in January. But in February, they start picking up, and there's a lot of things that he has going on in the background um, that I'm helping him with, and I have a lot of things that's going on in the background too. And one thing I guess I can kind of say is we're sort of planning. This is still all in talks, but with Salem Horror Fest in April, we may or may not be doing live show and movie viewing of a brand new movie that might be coming out.
Shut up.
Yeah, so if anybody
I'm like
who's
7 hours from Salem.
just come on, come do it.
I'm coming.
Yeah, let's do it in April.
Yeah.
Once everything
I'm
gets
driving up.
once everything's solidified and everything's sorted out, you will obviously let everybody know. But that's just kind of like what I have going on right now, on top of all the ScreamBox stuff. And one thing that is happening ScreamBox related is next week they are doing a very early screening of The Outwaters at Cinema Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh my God, shut up.
So if
That's so
anybody,
exciting.
yeah, so if anybody's in the area, make sure you sign up for that. I think even if you go and on their socials, they have a giveaway right now of 5 free passes that you guys can go and win to go to that screening. So if you want to see The Outwaters and you're by the area, or you want to travel to the area, I highly suggest you do that. But other than that,
I'm
not too
literally
much
Google
more.
mapping right now how to get to how
Yeah,
long it takes me to get to
do
Salem.
it. It's a great cinema. It's an indie cinema. They're not big at all. Any purchase there, popcorn ticket helps them a lot, and they're
You're literally 6 hours away from me.
yeah. I'm not that far
That's not that
from
long.
Salem at all.
Oh, see, I'm in North Central PA. I'm about 3 hours from downtown Manhattan. So
Oh, okay,
yeah. Yeah.
okay. Yep, I'm about like 45 minutes from Salem on a good day.
Oh my God, that's
If
so
there's a lot of
fun.
traffic, it's probably about like an hour and a half, but usually it's
Okay.
about 45 minutes. So yeah, come on down and
Yay.
watch these awesome films, and we
I'm
can meet each other in
excited.
person.
Okay. Yeah, how fun.
Hell yeah, we got to get Boomer there now.
I'll try.
But back on track for the movie that we were talking about today. It is Dawning, a ScreamBox exclusive that will be dropping January 31st. We are recording this 28th, so this might be coming out. I haven't decided if late tomorrow, which will be the 29th, or early the 30th. I have not decided yet. It depends on how much energy I have. But I think we kind of talked about briefly our overall feelings about this film. So let's jump into spoilers. Gabby, since you are our guest today, where would you like to talk about? You could pick anything in the film, anything that spoke to you, anything you didn't like, anything you really liked, whatever you wanna talk about.
There was nothing in this that I didn't like.
Okay.
There were things that I enjoyed a little bit more than others. Um, I the movie makes you think
Oh yeah.
that makes you believe that these two sisters grew up with this trauma. The dad killed himself, and obviously when somebody takes their own life, there's a story behind that. Nobody just does that because they're in a shitty mood. There are things behind it. There's illness behind it. And almost all of the time mental illness travels within the family. It's genetic, and
Yep.
it's something that's passed on. So after the dad kills himself, and you see the older sister is very successful, she's doing very well, she's a therapist, which makes sense. You wonder about the other sister, and so you think that when she goes to the family farm to spend that time with her sister that the sister is kind of breaking down.
Yeah.
And the imagery, the night terrors. You saw The Nightmare, right? Everybody did.
Yeah. Yep.
So we all know from that was one of the scariest movies of all time to me.
Yeah.
Um, watching an actual night terror happen. But when you see it happen in this movie, oh my God. When she has that first night terror and that figure starts running toward the stop
Oh
it.
yeah.
Oh, I had to watch this on my computer because my son is home this weekend. This is my weekend with my son. So I had to watch it on my computer. I couldn't watch it on the TV. I have my chair has wheels, scooched, rolled back, and was like, what the
Yeah.
and, my little tiny, beautiful 5-year-old was like, Mommy, we're not supposed to say fuck.
My son does the same thing to me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, don't tell me what I just said.
Yeah.
So, of course, you have to like turn your attention to like, you can't say it just to tell me not to say it. And, but anyway. But yeah, that really got me. But when you realize this movie reminded me a lot of A Tale of Two Sisters.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, with this sister being gone, and when you get the reveal that you thought that it was the dad, you saw that image of the dad on the side of the high. It wasn't him.
Nope.
It completely, like, you're already like freaked out because you don't know what's going on with the sister, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on with the main character. And you're kind of like, wait, what? Wait, oh my God. And then the dad's standing in the doorway, and you're just like, this movie was, and also just, back to what I was saying earlier. I, when the reveal happens and we find out why.
It's hard. It's really, really hard.
I can't, and I actually was trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who didn't experience something like that. My sister passed from heroin overdose. So it was sudden. It was horrible. She had children. Sujan didn't. But that was hard enough. And to put yourself, I can't imagine what it must feel like to be somebody from the outside that's never experienced that. That is like, what would I do if that were my sibling?
Yeah.
And, I loved that. The terror of knowing those feelings, but also kind of like stepping back and being like, how scary would that be? Because this is such a great movie because it puts you, and I think that a lot of J-horror does this. That's what makes J-horror so fantastic, is that it's emotional, it's visceral, and it's empathetic and sympathetic, and you find yourself identifying with the characters, whether or not you have anything to identify with. And so what really stuck out to me the most was putting myself in the shoes of somebody that doesn't understand. How could you wrap your brain around something like this happening to you? And that's got to be, for me, it was devastating and sad and horrible to relive. How terrifying would it be for somebody who still has their sibling?
Yeah.
To think about that. And it got me everywhere. I had the goosebumps. I was weeping. But fun fact, I actually physically don't get goosebumps. I can't. I get cold chills, and I feel like I think that I would have goosebumps. I think that's what it's supposed to feel like, but I don't actually get them.
That's so weird.
I know, it's so weird. But yeah, so I think that I had the goosebumps. According to how I think. I think that everybody else had the goosebumps. But yeah, it was so, and the unraveling, like, it did remind me of Tale of Two Sisters, but it wasn't the same at all. This was such a different idea and such a different take on that sibling grief that was phenomenal.
Yeah, it really
Phenomenal.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It really threw you for a loop.
yeah, the movie really does set you up to follow, you know, the main sister. I'm not going to be able to say her name right, but the main sister. You want to follow
Pagin?
her. Yeah, I think it was that. And after the whole scene happens with the dad, and it's in the therapy room with the guy, Marcus, and he looks out the window, and then she sees that, and she's saying, "Don't do it, don't do it," and somebody kills themselves. It's like at that point, I was really confused because at first I thought it was Marcus that we were following now. Like maybe he was in that house because they kind
Ah,
of like they played a little bit of a mind game with you because he's talking about how his dad left or whatever, and like he should have did something for his dad. So I was like, so this is the other sibling maybe or whatever it may be. But no, it turns out to be the girl. And then you follow her, and then yeah, you get the first sleep paralysis scene, which is awful. I've never experienced sleep paralysis.
neither have I.
I hope I never do.
Preach. Yeah.
I've watched a lot of like documentaries or other movies that kind of surround sleep paralysis, and it makes me just never ever want to deal with them.
Never in a
Um,
million.
I feel
Mm-mm,
like
no, thank
that would
you.
that would top any horror movie I've ever seen is dealing with that. And she doesn't just have one sleep
Yeah.
paralysis scene. There's three different ones, and they each kind of get worse and worse and worse. And then she's also kind of ported to this dream world that you think, because she falls asleep, dream world, bad thing happens. Falls asleep, dream world, bad things happen. And then you slowly start to realize that this dream world is the real reality, sort of.
Yeah.
Just kind of warped a little bit, with seeing her sister, die in the gun, and then see her sister, hang herself essentially, and you really go through all of these emotions with her. Like she's popping pills,
Yeah.
um, and then she's trying to do anything to cope. She's even like searching on the web for like trauma with like medication and stuff like that, and if you could hallucinate while having said trauma.
Yeah.
um, so she's at work, goes home, and she tells her secretary that she's not going to be back until I think Monday or Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah.
And then she's like, my sister needs me, but she never called her sister. You don't see this interaction, I don't think, at all with her and her sister ever like talking. So right
No.
off the bat, you're like, "She has a sister?" So you're like, "Oh, okay." So you kind of just go along with it as you would as a viewer, kind of going
Well,
along
I
for the
picked that
ride.
up when the dad killed himself in the beginning, that the two girls were holding the mom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know
Yeah.
what? Maybe I wasn't looking at the other sister. I think I was just so focused on the mom, just like
I was
literally
watching to
breaking
impress,
down.
so I was paying attention to everything so I could get the best notes.
Yeah, hell yeah. So you're gonna probably see things that I didn't, which is great. That's why I love having someone else do these with me. Um, so yeah, she goes to visit her sister. She gets to the farm, and then you see the doorway in the building where the father came out of and then left. Um, so you're like, oh, okay, so we're back to where it was in the beginning of the film. What
Yep.
has changed? Who's here? So she goes to find her
Yep.
sister, Sojin. She finds her, but she's doing like this, like she's digging or doing something crazy. Which you see this in the trailer, and like Dean and I, when we were
Oh.
watching this, we were like, "Oh no, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad."
Quick aside, what is it with Asian horror that gets body horror so perfectly that it doesn't have to be ripping a fingernail off? It doesn't have to be scooping somebody's eyeball out.
Yeah,
Just the frantic digging, the twitches and the movements and the
yeah,
everything that just freaks you out so bad. And the spoiler alert, when she's bent over backwards,
Oh yeah.
scurrying at her,
Yep.
how hard did you try to like move your entire body into your spine to get
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
from
Oh,
that?
I definitely pushed back a little bit, and I think I had to look away.
They do it so well. They do it so well with no gore
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's
and
well.
no shock. The shock is
Yeah.
you're moving like that.
Yeah.
It's like the spider walk down the stairs in The Exorcist.
Exactly. That's the best
Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
describe
Yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, sorry.
no, no, you're
End of
good. You're
aside.
good. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, definitely J horror. They always go really hard with their storytelling, and their twists. They always have a
God
good twist.
bless. Yes.
For anybody who does have Screambox and hasn't watched it, The Anchor is a great J horror film that you need to watch.
I started that because you said you did an episode or you said something on Twitter about it.
We did. We never got the episode released because we were on our break. But it
Okay.
was one that we were going to cover. It's a bit of a long one. It's about 2 hours. But the payoff for that film is phenomenal. It's so
With
good.
J horror, I don't mind because look at The Medium, The Wailing.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, just recent memory.
yeah.
The 2 hours feels like 45 minutes. I can deal with it. I'm actually writing down so
Yes,
that I don't. I'm putting a post-it on my monitor right now.
Hell yeah.
Finish The Anchor.
Oh yeah, and everybody else listening, make sure you watch The Anchor and then watch this one when it drops. But
Yeah.
they've been putting out a lot of really good J horror on Screambox,
Yeah.
and I love it.
So
I
impressive.
love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Dawning. So she goes to California to her sister. She goes to the place and she thinks that she sees her sister. She's like yelling out to her, being like, "Hey, I'm here!" So she walks up to her. Turns out that what she was looking at wasn't her sister. Her sister was actually behind her,
Ugh.
walking to her. So you're like, "Oh, okay. So this is what we're gonna be going into."
Yeah.
Then they start to have a talk. I think the reason why she was going back, that she was having a boyfriend trouble or something with Jae Sung, who we don't really know who he, but they talk about him a lot. And we find out that he was abusive to Sojin and split up.
But he left her, which
Yeah.
I thought was so funny. Not funny. Funny is the very wrong word. So interesting that she asks Sojin, "Did he hit you?" And she says yes. And she explains why. She gives the very typical battered wife answer of, well, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
It's the way that we communicated. It was we were oil and water. We were all of these things. But he left me.
Yeah.
He abandoned me.
Yeah.
And that's just gut-wrenching. That this is kind of what sets you up for there's something wrong with Sujin.
Yeah.
Because you think that you think it was your fault that he left? You think it was your fault that he...
Yeah.
And then as a on a personal note, as a female, more than anything else, what we're kind of raised on, when the gym classes separate boys and girls and things like that, a lot of that is how to identify an abusive relationship. So one of the kind of ding, ding, ding things for me was when she's like, he left me. Abusers don't typically leave their relationship. So that was like, why?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting twist. For me, it was kind of a twist that it was like, wait, he left you.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing actually.
Yeah.
Because you never really hear that. I mean, she says like, yeah, he was abusing me whenever he drinks, which is like, that's like a typical thing that you would hear a lot from somebody who's in an abusive relationship. But yeah, normally they play like, no, I gotta stay with them. No, it's okay, everything's gonna be all right. It's never like, yeah, they left me. It's always like, I'm gonna stay with them. So it was
Yeah.
really, turning it on its head a little bit.
Yeah.
And then after, all that kind of happens, they go to sleep, and I think the second sleep paralysis scene happens,
Yeah.
and we always look at the time usually, and it's always 3:10 a.m. And then we see Sojin digging again, but this time it's dark out, and it's like in between, like everything that's growing, and you don't really see what's going on. But she talks to Sojin, and then she stops, and then disappears. Just
Yeah.
teleports. So you're like,
Yeah.
so I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on here? Where is she gonna show
Oh,
up?
yeah.
And then it's that scene, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. So
So creepy.
forget about that.
Yeah.
um, and then so this is when it gets really really crazy. So the sister wakes up and then says, no wait, yeah, she says to her, is it Sojin that asks her about the vivid dreams the first time? I think
Sojin asks her, "Are you having your vivid dreams again?"
yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe you're having your vivid dreams again, and then she like twitches and then lunges at her, and
Yeah.
and then we wake up again, and they, I think they go to like a part where Sojin's smoking, I think, and then they're kind of
Mm.
like talking about, oh, so you're smoking now? She's like, yeah, like it kind of helps a little bit and makes me think about being this person instead of who I am right now, and maybe I would have a chance. So they're having like a talk about how one was more successful than the other, and like why
Yeah.
you left and whatnot, which is very very heartbreaking. It really is, because there are families out there that are definitely broken, or on the verge of being broken, and no one's like that close, and there's that one, it could be a cousin, it could be a sibling that was more successful than you, and you feel like you are stuck in this one area because that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
um and that really that hurt me a lot, because that's kind of like how my family was. Like I have a lot of people that are really successful, and I felt like I, at a point in my life, I needed to stay where I was, when in reality I could have been so much more. So that
Yeah.
was really hitting me a lot, that whole
Yeah.
scene, for sure.
I can tell you, as for some reason, my sister especially always thought that I was doing so well. My cousins have always thought that I've done very well. Um, Perception is crazy.
Mm.
Never have I ever considered myself doing well, being successful. I've never, but you can give off that air that,
Yeah.
and especially as Pagan is the older sister, which is crazy that her name is Pagan. And I didn't realize that until almost the end of the film. My sister's name was Paige.
Oh, really?
Is Paige. Yeah. Yeah. So that was just like, I mean, I
Wow.
was already freaking out and crying and sweating. And then it's like, oh my God, her name is Paige. Oh my God. Like, so yeah, that Pagan, Sujin's telling Pagan, I see you and you do well and you're high rise in New York City and you're doing all of these things. And my sister used to say those things to me too, that like, well, you have your beautiful house. It's like, bitch, I rent. Well, you have such a great job. Like, I have a nice title. I don't make shit on it. I don't make any money. I just have a good title, you
Yeah.
know, like, well, you have this and you have this and you have this. And it's like, yeah, well, you can have these things, but it doesn't necessarily make you any higher than anybody else. But you have that, especially as an older sister to your younger sister, you have that, like, why do you think that I'm doing so much better than you? And it's literally, when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's just because you're the big sister.
Yeah.
And so that was actually such a heartwarming scene
Oh
for
yeah, it definitely
me.
was.
And I think for anybody who watches it, that it's just like, oh, look at the little sissy, loves her big sissy. And she just thinks that she's, this amazing figure. And it's the big sissy's like, no, I envy you here on the farm and living your simple life and doing your passion. You love farming and you love doing all of these things. And, it's just, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
So yeah, the next part after them doing the smoke break talking is what I've been calling it.
Yeah.
Is when Sujin asks her sister, "Did you see what I was digging earlier?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" That really got me. I was like, "Whoa, no, she knows. She knows,
Yeah.
and you are in this dream." Um, so she goes to call Jae-sung to see where he's at. I don't know why she didn't call the mother, because she found the calling list. I guess
Yeah.
if she ever needed anybody to go and call that. So she found that, but she only called Jae-sung, which was weird. Like, why didn't she call the mom as well?
Very odd.
And so
Yeah.
she's calling and calling, and she goes outside, and then here's the phone ringing in the dirt where she saw her sister digging.
With the
And like,
shoe.
I mean, this phone must have had a really, really long battery life. That's all that I'm saying. That's all I was thinking when this was happening. I was like, this is a very, very long battery life phone.
Yeah.
So she finds it, and she finds a shoe. I was like, okay. And then we kind of get the, okay, so this has to be reality now. She's finally awake, finds the phone. Sujin killed Jae-sung.
Yeah.
So after she finds out all this, looks behind her, and then the whole world is like crumbling. It's like trying to consume her. So then she's running. She's like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
So you're like, "What's going on now?" But you're kind of, I guess, I was starting to understand now that that was like just all in her mind essentially, because obviously this wouldn't be happening in real life. Like your real world wouldn't start
Oh, you got
crumbling.
that.
Yeah, it was just
I did
like,
not.
yeah, I was like, there's no way that's happening. Like I'm intrigued to see what's happening and where it's gonna go, and where it went. I wasn't really ready for it.
Yeah.
Because she makes it out. She goes out of the fence, and then there's a car, and she waves the car down, and then we,
Assuming it's her Uber that she already
yeah,
called
it
her
was
Uber. Yeah.
something. And my camera's going all crazy again, but whatever. So yeah. Let me see if I can fix it really quickly. Uh,
It's just funny what your camera's making you do right now.
all right, I think it's all fixed now. It does that every now and then,
Okay.
so all the video watchers will love that. It's been happening so much lately; it's ridiculous. So yeah,
Haunted.
she's waving down her Uber or whatever you think it was, and then
Yeah.
they kind of set you up to think that you're in a flashback. At least that's what I was thinking. When she's in, I think she's in the chair, right, and she's talking to like another psychiatrist. So maybe thinking this was happening after
I
her
was just
dad.
thinking that was such a traumatic weekend with the sister
Yeah.
that as a therapist, she knew to call a therapist and talk about it. I actually thought that was like, wow, she's so like, not counterproductive, but what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know
Proactive.
what you
She's
mean.
so proactive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
proactive. Yeah.
Like she knows what to do because she does it. And I was like, good for you, Pei Jen. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was excited for her.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that was a flashback. It just the way everything looked, it made me feel like that. And then you kind of go into another dream world, and this is when like everything starts getting mixed up. And
Yeah.
then she sees her sister die, but then her father die, and then people just in places they shouldn't be. Like she's talking to her dad, but then her dad's in the trunk, and then her sister is in the driver's seat. Oh my god, my camera is just so annoying. It's whatever. It's comic relief for the show, but yeah, it was just
Yeah, for
really
sure.
really weird. Um, And then we get the um I guess the twist, the realization that it was really her sister that died, and not her father.
Oh,
Um
okay, this is when I'm going to start getting emotional. Apologies, Barron's listeners. This
yeah.
is a lot. This
It
was
was
really tough.
it got to me too, because after the talk, you go follow the therapist that was talking to her, and then it's like her mom. It's like, okay, we saw the mom, and we know that the mom is alive. So that's
Yeah.
all that we saw. So she's talking, and
On an
then
aside, did you think that Sujin, when you saw the shoe and the phone buried,
yeah,
did you think that Sujin had killed the boy or the mom too? That she was just very conveniently out of
you
town, or she was
know,
visiting church friends or whatever?
with the
That was my
mom,
thought, was like, oh my God, Sujin killed her boyfriend and the mom. Yeah.
I kind of forgot about the mom. Actually, I wasn't really thinking.
Oh,
Like, there was a point in time when I was like, okay, where's the mom? But
yeah.
then I really forgot that the mom was even mentioned or anything until
Um,
I saw her again, aside from the beginning of the film. So when we saw her sitting and talking to the therapist and had to sign the line, and then we look behind, and there's the dad, and then we see him sign, and it's Jae Sung, and then you're like, oh,
oh shit.
I get
Yeah.
it now. I
Yeah.
get it now.
Yeah.
And then that's when we get the actual flashback, and it's sad, and it's really tough to watch, especially when we go through the
My eyelid is
whole
twitching at this, actually. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can't, but it is
um
twitching terribly. But anyway, keep
I
going.
think someone will probably see it. So yeah, we
Thanks
kind
a
of
lot. I'm about to be a meme.
we go back to the beginning, the actual true beginning, and see the actual things that happen. Yes, the father runs to the car, and then we have him stop, and he says, "Oh, okay, no, it's fine, I'll stay." So it was,
Because this time it's the mother
yeah,
begging him to stay, not Peijin.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get a camera pan over to the sisters, and holding each other, and you're not quite sure what was happening, but you kind of get the gist of it. And then it starts slowly revealing even more when the sisters are talking to each other, and it goes to night, and then the sister wakes up and hears the fighting, and then that's what the sleep paralysis was her hearing the fighting and all, like, the awful noises, and then knowing that her sister was the one who was being abused and whatnot.
This is
um
when it all tied together for me,
yeah,
was in the beginning when the Marcus was the name of the patient, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That I could have done more. He was my dad, but I didn't consider him human. Dads are
yeah,
different. Um, I think for all of us, parents and siblings, they're different. It's not your bestie, it's not your significant other. These are the people that are meant to be your life
yeah.
for your life.
Hmm.
Maybe not so much parents, but definitely siblings. And so when Marcus is talking about that guilt of like, I could have done more, that was actually the first time in the movie that I cried.
Oh,
Was,
really?
yeah. What I mean, just thinking about, like,
Yeah,
because of how my sister had passed, um, that, you know, I get that. I get that you think that there, in hindsight, you think that there's more that you could have done. And I felt for Marcus. I get it. I
yeah,
get it so hard. But like there was that, and then there was when she's in bed before her first sleep paralysis, when she's listening to that lecture,
yeah. Oh, I totally forgot all about that.
and
That's right.
she's talking and she's listening to this person talk about like the secondary trauma, that you're watching the trauma happen to somebody else and you want to take it on,
Yeah,
but you can't, and the guilt that you feel from that. And then that very quick glance of the Google search of the patient
hmm,
who escaped from the hospital. when she has that sleep paralysis and she's calling out for Sujin, you think that Sujin, and that kind of set it up for everything. So that was such a huge twist.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're already reeling from the twist. And then you find out that, yes, there was that abuse, that she could have intervened. She could have tried to protect her sister. And she didn't because she was afraid.
Yeah.
And then for that to end with Sujin's death.
Yeah. And even her saying,
God
like,
damn.
she's like, forgive me, or something like that. Like, are
I
you,
can't.
yeah, it's tough. And
It's so hard.
as soon as she says that, you know exactly where it's going. And then when you start hearing all the fighting, and then you see the clock says 3:10, just like all of her sleep paralysis interactions were happening. And then she wakes up to go find her sister, and she's not in her room.
Something else very powerful about that scene, the 3:10 scene, is when she falls asleep, that light in the field is blinking.
Yeah.
When she wakes up, it's not blinking anymore.
Yeah.
So you know that something happened
Yep.
before you know what happened.
And this is so hard because, like, I kind of grew up in an abusive home, sort of. So a lot of this kind of hits home with me in that kind of way. And thinking that if I had, I have two other sisters, and like how you were saying before, like how would someone react, with not having to be in a situation or even being in a situation. It's tough, and this movie is very, very hard. And I was not expecting this movie to be the movie that it is. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I was expecting something completely different. But I'm glad that it was a movie that was made like this, so people can maybe understand what it feels like to be in that kind of situation, or maybe to realize that next time I need to do something about whatever is going on. If I know somebody that's in this situation, I should go help them or do something. And when she's out finding, like, looking for her sister, and then realizes that she took her own life, and that's why she was saying, forgive me. And I'm just like, oh fuck. I had to pause and like give myself like 10 minutes. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, it really was. There's so many, especially, well, in every single genre. I think what horror does very well is that they really do well with grief and
yeah.
guilt, and finding the horror of that, and kind of building on that. And I can say that when my sister passed, I looked and looked and looked. I'm a reader. I could not find anything but 2 books on sibling grief when both parents are still alive and it's a sudden traumatic death. And, parents are expected to crumble and to, so as not only the other sibling, but the older sibling, you're expected to take that role. And so it was really hard for me to find anything. And that's actually when I got into therapy, which there's no such thing as pride. If anybody needs any help, go to therapy. It's great.
I can attest to that.
Shout out to my therapist. But yeah, so it was so hard. And there is absolutely no representation on real sibling grief and the horror of losing, because, like I said before, your immediate family, your mother, your father, your siblings, however many, those are the people that are your people, no matter what happens. More so, your siblings are. They are the people that were given to you to live this entire life. Nobody expects their parents to be around the entire time you're living. Your siblings are there. That's what they're there for. You are, no matter who your romantic partner is, no matter who your children are, no matter what your life is, your siblings are the ones that are meant to be your entire life. And
Can you take a second? I can pause it, Gabby. Just let
No,
me
no,
know.
no, no. I'm okay. I'm okay. The way that this explored the guilt and the grief of that bond that a lot of siblings don't see that they have. You don't see it until it's too late. The way that this explored what can happen to your psyche and to your brain, to your actual living, was so well done that I almost wanted to research and see, like, did somebody who was involved in the writing of this film lose a sibling? Because this was so representational. It was so representative and it was so real. And that's what got me. That's when I absolutely lost my shit and was just sobbing on my, like, I mean, of course, at this point, I was trying to do my face. I even texted you and said, I need a little extra time,
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do my
yeah.
face. But I like was on my knees in front of my TV, like, oh my God, stop crying. I have to do this. Like, I have a thing, you know? And it was fucking phenomenal. And there are people, I'm not the only fucking one. And I'm not the only fucking one today or yesterday or the day that it happened to me. People lose their siblings every single day. We are very underrepresented, and that's okay. We'll find each other. Um, but when you get to a point that you're okay to see something like this is such a cathartic experience to see that, like, yeah, there's so much trauma that you go through when you grow up in a very abusive environment. And there's that person that kind of, I tried. My sister and I were very far. We're 6 years apart. So I tried to shoulder as much as I could. But there were times that I wasn't there. I wasn't scared. I took that shit for 6 years before she got here. I was good,
Yeah.
But I also grew up faster. I grew up sooner. I was out. I was living my life. That there were times that I couldn't shoulder that. And the way that they represented the guilt and the unwillingness to let go was, this is when this movie went from, I guess I'm giving away my score already.
Hey, that's
This
fine.
is
Go right
when this
ahead.
movie went from a 7 to a 10 for me.
Hell yeah.
When it became so identifiable and so real. This movie is so real. The horror in this movie is actual horror. This is real life terror.
Yep. I
And
agree.
fucking Japanese doing it again, showing us up. Can
What
you please come teach us how to make an actual fucking good horror movie? Please. We love you.
what really, really got me was going back to the scenes and seeing her by herself when there was scenes when she was talking to Dojin, and then hearing that the therapist said, oh, she was relapsing, and so she went there. And then, yeah, obviously, the parents tracked her down, knew where she was, and then they found out that the place was foreclosed because before they were talking about how she sold the house.
Yeah.
And then you find out that no, it was actually foreclosed after everything that happened.
Yeah.
Um, just been essentially like under surveillance ever since. We don't really
Mhm.
know the time gap. I don't think between the events. We just kind of assume that it's pretty recent. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
because even like when it's the flashbacks, they're kind of the same age. So it had to have been
Yeah.
very, very recent, probably like within like the past like year or two. Um,
I would think.
I would, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Then, yeah, seeing her by herself, then going back to the hospital, and then seeing all the characters that were in her mind, like the nurse being her assistant. How there was another patient on the same floor that was Marcus. And then the
And that
really,
Marcus killed himself.
yeah, and yeah, you hear the
Yeah.
flatlining, and he's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
And then the last thing was, the mother talking to the daughter and saying, "Your father's here," and then she looks, and then you get the Sojin talking to her and saying, "Are you ready to let me go now?" And I
Can
was like,
I can
"Oh
go now,
fucking
right?
shit!" And I was like, "I
Yeah.
can't. Like, this is awful." Like, I started crying. I'm like, "This is awful. Like, it's so good, but it's awful. Why
It's
are you
so
making
good.
me like experience this?
You
No, but
no
you have
matter
to."
no matter how many horror movies come out that can give you the feels,
Yeah,
it's still always going to be horror. You never expect that.
yeah.
And the way that this movie, I think that one thing that I picked up on, and Boomer's going to completely at me about this because I'm going to be wrong because he knows everything about Asian horror. And I don't mean that in a bad way, Booms. God bless you. You are the. I've said it before. You know everything. Um, what one thing that I pick up on Asian horror films is that there is one central theme in every single Asian horror film that you don't necessarily get unless you kind of read into what you're watching, which as an American for me personally, and I'm only speaking for myself, I don't do that with every horror film that I watch because I'm used to watching American horror films. This movie is about Michael Myers. He's going to kill these fucking babysitters.
Yeah.
This movie's about Jason Voorhees. He doesn't like people who have sex. This movie's about Freddy Krueger. He's going to come to you in your dreams. This movie's about Jigsaw. He's mad
Yeah.
because he has cancer. And, you know, so I'm used to this is what it is. It's in your face. This is what I'm telling you. And don't question me. The thing that Asian horror does so much better is that there's that theme, that underlying or right on the surface theme that maybe as, you know, a woman of a certain age, I'm not saying my age, but I've watched horror movies for 30 plus years. As an American, this is what it's about. Don't question it. Love it. Leave it. Goodbye. That when I started discovering Asian horror, even before I met Booms, hey Booms, there's a theme, and you have to not look for it. You don't have to look for it. A lot of them are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
have to allow yourself to receive it. And this is yeah, not on the same level as Train to Busan. I don't think that this movie's ever going to be as big as Train to Busan. No offense. Um, but it is on the same kind of wavelength as Train to Busan, that theme is there. You don't realize it until later on.
Yeah.
With Train to Busan, you don't realize it until the very end.
No, and it
That
hits you. It definitely
it
hits you.
hits you like a fucking freight train. And this movie, God bless anybody who has any kind of sibling grief. When you're ready, you'll know when you're ready. Watch it because
It's a great film. It
and
is.
besides the fact it's a great fucking movie.
Yeah,
Anybody who doesn't have sibling grief, God bless, watch it too.
it's so good, and like it's I hate saying this, but it is really like kind of cut and dry with the thing that it's going through, and especially the ending. I love how it ends on the saddest note possible. It starts with sort of well, I'm not gonna say sort of. It is a sad moment, like losing your father, and then you kind of have like these in betweens. Like there's a little bit of like relief of you feeling happy, but this
Mm-hmm.
movie really, wants you to feel how these characters are feeling, and I love that about movies. I love when they try to do something with the emotions and really stick the landing, and they make you feel that. There's a lot of movies that
Yeah.
try to do that, and it doesn't work for me. I'm like, what? Okay. But this one, you go through so many different stages, and it really is like stages of grief. Like
It
that's probably the
really
best
is.
way
Yeah.
to describe it. It's like you're going through every single stage. and then you land on the hardest moment, and then from there on things will probably get better, but it'll take a while. With her
Yeah.
finally accepting to being like, okay, I need to get better for myself. She'd want me to be better for myself. Yeah, my dad was the one that pretty much caused what happened, but I need to just accept it and be with my family at this point, because she's been through so much stuff and going
Yeah.
in and out of therapy and probably relapsing multiple times. It seemed like
Hospitalizations.
yeah, because she said, oh, she relapsed again. So it means that it's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. The whole movie is crazy. It's got its
Yeah.
scares. It's got its emotions. It's got great writing. It's not long at all. It's under the 90-minute mark that people love. It's about a 70-minute movie, maybe a little bit
You
above
know, I
that.
love a short ass film.
Yeah, and it goes through
Yes.
so fast, and
Yeah.
it's sad. It's very, very sad.
It is. This is one of those. This is a horror movie that's actual. This isn't horror. This is terror. This is
Yeah.
thinking of the things that make you the most. There's nothing more scary than sadness
Mm-hmm.
and emptiness and desolation and crisis and,
Oh yeah.
monsters under your bed or whatever. But when you think about like the actual things that could happen in your life, that's what's scary. This movie is an actually terrifying film. So if you have that sibling grief, God bless, watch. If you don't, God bless, watch.
Yes.
This will
Watch it.
fuck you up
And I would
thinking
say
about it. Like
if it
what could
doesn't-
happen.
if this doesn't touch you in some sort of way, you are soulless. You are soulless.
You're made of stone.
Like you
Yeah.
just don't want to embrace any kind of emotions. And
You need therapy more than we do.
ScreamBox, you guys are fucking killing it. That's all I gotta say. You really are
ScreamBox is
finding
the
these
shit. Yeah.
these really, really cool movies, and there's so many wide ranges. You got
Who are the
Terrifying.
curators over there just killing it?
Yeah, and Blade
I
Disgusting.
mean, hi.
You know,
Yeah.
they're doing great. This is Blade Disgusting's brainchild, essentially, and they're killing it. Everything they've been putting out, I've been loving. Except for maybe the last movie for them. Was it In Dreams? It was the Bianca Van Damme movie that is on that is on ScreamBox. It's a good film. It's like a 6 out of 10 for me. It was a really cool film. It's like a very sexual movie. But it's really, really cool. It's a sexual thriller, I think is how they're kind of talking about it. That's on ScreamBox now, that you can go and watch.
Okay.
This one comes out January 31st, and watch it when it drops. I promise you, it's a movie that you do need to watch. You need to see it, feel it. So if I have to give this a rating out of 10, I'm gonna go 10 out of 10 as well. Any movie that makes me feel any sort of emotion the way that this did, it's an automatic 10 out of 10, because there's not a lot of films that do that. It could have like the crappiest writing in the world, awful acting, but if it makes me feel any sort of emotion, whether it be super happy or really sad or whatever, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. And
I am the most punctual person you will ever meet in your life. Lateness is not okay for me. The fact that I was almost a half hour late to this because I couldn't calm myself down is such a testament to what an amazing film this is.
Oh yeah,
they
for sure.
they hit every mark on this. Amazing. You
need to let me know what Boomer thinks of this.
I will. I sent him the link. Yeah, as soon as I asked you for permission, I was like, here's the link, you got to watch this. Yeah. And I'm just so I could I was hoping that he would watch it before I came on, but he's so busy he didn't get a chance.
I'm definitely gonna be watching this again once it drops on Shudder. I mean, sorry, ScreamBox. Sorry, scrap that. Drops on ScreamBox. Let's rewind. Sorry about that, ScreamBox. It's okay. Shit happens. But like I said, we're not officially sponsored, so it's fine. I'll leave that in because that's a cool blooper.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
But yeah, once it drops on there, I'm definitely gonna be watching it. As for everybody else, you should go and watch this film. Support it.
Immediately.
And ScreamBox, I think they're still the cheapest streaming platform out there. They're less than Shudder. I think they're what, 4 or something right now. And they usually do like you can get like 3 months for $1. They were doing that for a while last year. Like you could get the first 3 months for $1, which is crazy. And they're always doing promotions and stuff like that. And one day, hopefully we can give you guys a promotion to get a 3 month or some shit. Who knows?
Yeah.
But Gabby, thank you so much for being here and
Thank
watching
you
this.
so much for having me. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while, and everybody's
Yeah.
been super duper busy, and I love seeing it. I love seeing everybody be successful in their own way and
Yeah.
pushing out episodes and doing things and talking about whatever the hell they want to talk about. We've been
The only thing
championing-
greater than success is seeing your friend's success.
Yes, I do believe in that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And ScreamBox, keep doing what you're doing, man. Like you guys are great. If you don't have ScreamBox right now, get it right now.
Now, get it by
So-
the 31st so you can watch this.
Yes,
Thank
for
you.
sure. For sure. And like I
Gabby said, and I have no problem being an asshole about movies I don't like.
yeah, I mean, feel free, even if this is like a screener movie, if you didn't like it, feel free to rip it apart. It's completely fine. People need to know what they're getting themselves
Ooh.
into.
I want that conversation, but anyway.
So this will either be out tomorrow or the day before this is officially released. You'll see it up on socials. And I'll
Yeah.
also be posting the Podcast in the Woods socials and everything for everybody to go check out their show and go support them. We need to spread the love to other podcasts.
Come
So
hang with us. We love everybody. And we love discussion. Please listen and talk to us.
yes. And
Yeah.
Gabby, thank you so much for being here, and let
Thank
Boomer
you,
know
friend.
that I'm thanking him for lending you over here for a while.
Booms! I feel like I have shouted him out 47 times
fine.
throughout the show, but hi, Booms.
So
Love
thank
you, friend.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching, and make sure you go check out Podcast in the Woods. Gabby, once again, thank you for being here.
Good
And
night.
we will sign off on my camera going crazy for the 10th time this entire episode. I promise it
It
will
was
be fixed
amazing.
soon.
Love your camera.
Thank you.
You and good night.
Thank you. And we'll catch everybody next time. Thank you guys so much for being here.